Hello YouTube, welcome back to the channel. So I thought I would do this one since it's still kind of fresh of mind. It's still kind of the front of the mind. I watched this a little bit earlier tonight. I did kind of step away and go watch the AEW episode. I PVR'd it, so I was like, I'm not going to interrupt my entire evening in terms of viewing. But I did watch this first, and then I came back after I had a little time to think about it, and I thought I would make a video talking about it. So this is what we're going to be talking about in this video is the second 1986 Fleer basketball box that was opened on WhatNot Sports via Ken Goldin, and this is basically kind of the follow-up to the box that was opened at the National that had the interesting collation, we'll say. And we talked about this already at length on live stream, so if any of you want to go back and check out some of that. I know in one of the two live streams where we went into more depth in some of the challenges of authenticating boxes, because Bobby Burrell, who's on the live stream with me, has actually had a long, extensive history in terms of opening wax, and also has written a book on the subject. So, like, he at least has some background understanding. And, of course, the infamous Steve Hart and kind of the questions about Steve Hart. Well, a lot of the information, Bobby knew a lot of the folks, including Steve Hart, and including a lot of the other contemporaries. I believe Mark Murphy, I'm just going from memory here. I believe Mark Murphy was the other one who did business with GAI in terms of pack authentication back then. So at least he has an understanding, also having written a book on wax packs and things like that and boxes. He at least has an understanding on some of the challenges. It isn't one of those, it's one of those things where he's not going to say like definitively yes or no, but at the same time, he's also going to say like, look, these are the challenges you have, and then breaking down some of the things to consider. So it is a very educational piece. On one of the two last live streams we did, I actually put a timestamp on it, so you can actually skip ahead to that part of the conversation if you want to check it out. So you can certainly do that. Now, I want to talk about this tonight, what came here. And this is from the Sportscar Radio live stream as pertaining to it, because it was on WhatNot, and I've used the WhatNot platform and desktop. It's not great. But I want to give credit where it's due. And quickly, I'll make a point, and then I'll come back to this video here. One of the things that I struggle with sometimes in the live stream, and we talk about it a lot, is that we've got a lot of these different channels that are like, these self-appointed watchdog channels. And I've had a lot of issues with a lot of the ways they do these things. Sportscar Radio is not one of them, although they do have their own methods of doing it, which can turn off some folks, and we've talked about that. But I love to give credit where it's due, because Sportscar Radio has done a lot of very good videos that are extremely well researched, and where that credit is due, it's deserved. And where I'm making the contrast is channels who kind of quote unquote ask questions, but then like don't do any research or digging into it. It's just kind of like open-ended questions. Like, well, what use is that? I've never been a big fan of that. Sportscar Radio, whether you like them or not, will at least do a video where, okay, let's pull up some clips. Let's look at this stuff. Let's do a little bit of research. When they were looking at the box originally, they looked at the video clip for the BBCE code, and then they were able to follow that up and follow the chain of custody. And they were able to do that. So that's a little bit of additional research. That I like. That I'm a big fan of in general. We did the same thing with the Pokemon case with Logan Paul. Rattle Pokemon, and we shouted out that channel because Rattle Pokemon did an amazing job. If you go back and look at some of those videos, they're extremely well researched. It wasn't just like, oh, I think the case is bad. Let's ask more questions. It was like, I think the case is bad. I'm going to ask more questions of some people that may know something about this. I'm going to find, some information based on the only other case that we know that probably is okay, and do some comparison. I'm going to compare the tape. I'm going to compare the box. I'm going to compare the label. Like, it went into great depth. Well, at that point, it's effectively investigative reporting. Like, it's as good as it's going to get in this space for investigative reporting. So you can come back on that video. Look, whether you believe it or not, at least you're getting information. You're not just getting random accusations. That part I've never been a big fan of. But when the research is done, and it's done well, I'm a huge fan of that. So Rattle Pokemon did a great job on that one. And then that video where I highlighted, basically that Brady Contenders card that was swapped out. Sportscar Radio featured a channel on it. I'm sorry I don't remember the channel name, but I did include a link to them in the description of that video, because again, they did tremendous research and did comparison, card side by side, found features that seemed to match up on the two cards. So it went into a lot more depth. It wasn't just like, I think this card is wrong. I think this card was used before, and then just leave it as an open-ended accusation. No, they actually went and found pictures and compared the two and showed it on the video. That's research. That's digging into it. And as it turned out, the card seemed to be off, and it was pulled off of the Goldin website. You did the research, and it resulted in some actual action, which is great. Okay, so enough about that. I wanted to touch on that off the top. Now, talking about this specific watch party. Credit again where it's due. Again, Sportscar Radio. A lot of the stuff where they do extremely well researched is extremely well done. Some of the stuff they've got on their website is extremely well done, is extremely well researched. They are going to be abrasive in their style. And I've talked about that in the live stream before. But look, when the videos are done well and the research is done well, it's hard to deny that they're doing some good work with it. So it's like you have to kind of take the good with the bad on it. So in this case, really good. And this watch party was extremely good. And a couple of different reasons why. And I'll talk about kind of how this played out as far as the stream itself. So it was extremely well done because they did a little bit pregame show thing, gave a little bit of preamble, interacted with the chat and everything. It made it a lot more palatable. So great job by them on that. Hats off as far as this live stream. It was extremely well viewed. Like you can already see here at the time that I'm recording this, it's already almost 11,000 views. And I think they had over 2,000 live viewers at one point at various points there, which is amazing for a sports card live stream. Huge, monstrous numbers. Congratulations to them. Obviously, this was a very successful venture. Very wise of them, honestly, to do the live stream and do the commentary kind of going along with it. So it was very well done from that perspective. So kudos to them for doing that. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about is the result of the stream itself and the result of the actual box opening. So again, I gave credit to Sportscar Radio because this made it a lot more palatable. So I'll leave a link to this if you want to go rewatch it. You're welcome to it. Otherwise, I will include a link to one other thing here in a second as well. So what was the result? Now, this is kind of an interesting one. The box itself was unexceptional as a result. However, and this is kind of my thought process kind of a couple of hours after thinking about it a little bit, I feel like the result led us down one of two paths. And I felt like coming into this, there were two avenues under which we were going to get it to potentially, I don't know obviously what people are going to be into or not, potentially a lot of discussion coming out of it. Scenario one was the crazy outlier anomaly, kind of playing off the national thing, the anomaly, which by the way was a terrible idea by Steve Hart. Using anomaly is like a defense for almost anything. It was a terrible look. Try to use that as an excuse. But if this had been another anomaly box of some kind, if there had been 0 Jordans, eyeballs raised, if eyebrows raised. If this had been, 36 Jordans and 36 packs, okay, with the fix is in, something's wrong. If it had been this crazy, or GI Joe cards in the packs, something that was nuts would have obviously led to a lot of blowback and a lot of questions. The other result is kind of and this is again just my opinion. The other result that would have kind of led people down to one path or another, not necessarily a million videos on it, but like leaves the avenue open for people to question, was the ambiguous result. And that's what I think we got here. I think we got the ambiguous result, which is almost as problematic as the crazy anomaly result. Most of these boxes, and one of the things that I'll include a link in the description for you to a link to Sports Collector's Digest, talking about a 1986 Fleer boxes. And this is maybe from about 2017 or so. And basically the average number of Jordans. So kind of to give you like a guide to go by, an average box of 86 Fleer, assuming it's been unmolested and it's not a crazy anomaly, quote unquote, would be about 3 regular Jordan rookies, give or take. There were some folks in the chat. I was monitoring the chat as well when this was going on, so the interactive element of it was very interesting. But there were folks that were like, oh, it should be at least 4. Not necessarily. Honestly, 3 is probably the more standard number. And in this case, we ended up with 2 regular Jordan rookies and 3 of the stickers. So 5 Jordans, 2 of the regular rookies, 3 of the stickers. That is within the range of what is plausible with these. So if we were to open an unopened case of this, like a legitimately unmolested open case, we could probably find that scenario. That's not one of those crazy 1 in a million anomalies, 2 Jordans and 3 stickers. That's not completely out of whack. That's within the realm of possibility. But it is on the low end. It's kind of, it would be a below average box in terms of that, but still within an acceptable, boundary, if you will. The result of that, though, is that it does leave open the open-ended question. And there were a couple of other elements to it that I think I'm going to play into it, and I'll mention a couple of them here, and I'll give you kind of my conclusion on it, but, I'd be interested to get your take on it in the comments. So I'm going to hit play on this here, on this section, and this is just before they're about to open the box. So right now, at this moment, the box is still closed. They've done the pregame show for about an hour and change. Like I said, very smart from the live stream. So kudos to them on that. Very, very smart move. So I'm going to hit play on this. And what's going to happen is they're about to switch over to opening the box. And then look what happens. Uh-oh. The video switched. Oh, the box is off screen. The box is off screen. And that is the part that got really interesting here. Because right now, the box is off screen. The box is off screen. And this obviously leads to a bit of a question. Wait a minute. What's going on? What's happening right now? So that was, and of course, Ken is taking the time to, talk and talk and talk. And that's what made it kind of funny for me. So I'm going to fast forward a little bit here for you. Keep fast forwarding here. Okay, now the box is back on the screen. Now we're about to open the box. And there's one more spot here I want to bring to your attention. So I'm moving ahead a little bit here. Okay, focusing. You're opening the box. That's great. You're taking it off. Okay, great. Now the wrapping has come off, and we're about to look at the box getting opened here. Man, I forgot how long it took Ken Goldin to get to the point here. Can we actually please? Okay, he's about to actually open the box now. He's going to lift the lid off of it. And we lose footage. And you can see the guys there on the left. They're reacting to it a little bit. Okay, so I'm pausing it there. So here's the thing. I don't know if that was on the WhatNot app itself or if it was their internet or what happened with it. Obviously, you just lost footage. Like, just so we're all on the same page. You just lost the footage. So obviously, this is going to be very suspicious. Like, look at the little comment there in the bottom there. Fraud. But here's the thing. Now, this is one that is going to leave open folks that are going to discuss it after the fact. Now, I do want to kind of like semi-debunk this one. And again, if you want to go full on Zapruder film on it, you're more than welcome to, by all means. I'm going to give you the link to this, so you're welcome to check it out. You know, timestamp it, coordinate it, do whatever you want to do. You got more time than I do if you're going to do that. Okay, so in the Ken Goldin Ken Goldin Instagram live, they did a live at the same time. So if you want to kind of coordinate and timestamp it, you certainly can. Right now, I've got it at about 4:24. And a bit of a pro tip here, if you've ever used the desktop version of Instagram, you can actually speed up the playback speed on it if you want to get through it a little quicker. So about 4:24, you got the box there. Okay, so I'm going to hit fast forward on this. And right now, it is sped up, so I want to kind of get to the point here. So there's the box. And you've got a different angle, obviously. An alternate angle on this for the Instagram page that's happening presumably at the same time. Coordinated on your, if you will. And there is the lid come off of it, and there it is. So what's going to happen here is they do actually keep playing. So this is actually the top of the box getting opened. That is the part that presumably, that apparently disappeared during this segment. Because if I keep playing forward, I'm going to fast forward a little bit here. And if I keep going forward, you get to this part, and now the box is already open. So from the perspective of somebody watching this live stream, obviously that's hugely suspicious. Oh, we never saw the lid come off of it. Well, we did actually see it over here. So just to give you that, again, you're welcome to Zapruder film the thing, you know, timestamp it, you know, if you want to check it out, watch it in slow motion, replay it 100 times if you want to. I think that part's okay. So real quick. So what's kind of my conclusion on this? As I said, there are 2 Jordan rookies and 3 stickers. Obviously, I just showed you the alternate angle, which you can use for the rest of it if you want to. Again, just looking there, the comment is fake, right? Okay, so I believe the result of it is, my opinion first, and then I'll tell you kind of where I think we landed on this one. My opinion is it's on the low end of what is a conventional spectrum of an 86 sphere box. I don't think that's really too crazy. I think the 2 Jordans with 3 stickers is plausible. I don't think that part's an issue. Now, I also believe, so that's just my opinion, I believe the box is probably fine. It's just a disappointing box. Just an underwhelming box, but within the standard parameters. Now, the result of it being ambiguous leaves open. The reason why I believe that an ambiguous result leaves open questions is because it wasn't too crazy one way or the other, then it leaves people open-ended to be able to make the argument, and you could make the argument one way or the other because it's still kind of a little bit wishy-washy. Reason I say that. Through the course of the rest of the play out, if you watch the rest of it, one of the first things that came up that the chat kind of keyed in on that they wanted to fixate on was obviously that little blip where you lost the footage. And then obviously in that alternate angle, you do still see it, but again, to each their own, Zapruder thing out to your heart's content. But assuming we ignore the first piece and then we get to the box itself, a bunch of the packs had the gum be loose to the point that it wasn't sticking to any of the cards. And for some folks, that's the smoking gun. And just knowing kind of a little bit, I'm not an expert in 86 fleer basketball. I'm not going to pretend that I am. But I've opened my fair share of 80s era wax in different sports and stuff. And to be honest, it's not a great diagnostic. The gum doesn't always stick to the cards. It depends a lot on how is it housed. Was there pressure at some point? Was there humidity at some point? Like, there's a million things that could result in it being modified that way. So I don't consider that to be a good diagnostic. The idea that, oh, well, the gum is in good shape, therefore that's suspicious. Look, fine. The reason why I said the ambiguous one leaves it open-ended is because if you are a conspiracy theorist and you were already kind of preset to believe that the fix was in, well, then guess what? Almost everything that you're going to see is going to play into and give you enough to try to build a case. So you can talk about the gum. You can talk about the moment that the video went out. You can say that the alternate angle is a different thing. if you want to go full conspiracy theorist, there's plenty for you to do. And then also in addition to it, well, there weren't enough Jordans, or, the Jordans didn't really kick in towards the end. And, there was a while where there were no Jordans, and then it was one Jordan. And then we kind of got it in the last couple of packs to get to the second one of the regular Jordans. All that can play into it. And one of the other ones that I saw in the chat as well was that people were obsessed about the idea that the cards seemed too nice, I guess, quote unquote. It felt like it was still pretty within, again, the realm of what I had seen in some other 86 Fleer box breaks. I haven't watched a million of them by any stretch of the imagination, but it felt like it was fine. I feel like the first box was messed up. I think we all agree on that, because the ordering of the packs, Steve Hart's explanation didn't really work. I believe this box is okay, but underwhelming. But I believe the fact it was just right on that borderline means that if you want to argue the conspiracy theorist side of it, you've got enough ammunition to try to build a case. And if you're a baseball card exchange truther, then you've got enough to build a case, because it wasn't out of whack with something you could see. If we opened a case full of these boxes that were fine, you could probably come across a box that would be similar to this one. Not necessarily identical, but similar enough that it's not an anomaly. This was not an anomaly box, but it also wasn't, within the standard, like it didn't fall in the average. And I think that is where you could have a conversation. I don't think it's a particularly interesting conversation, because I think this was a pretty average box, and it was just, the cards came out, it was an average box. You got a couple of Jordan and 3 Jordan stickers. That was kind of what ended up happening with it. But again, it left it, basically the eyeballs of this segment of the hobby, again, niche as it is, this segment of the hobby, the eyeballs were fixated on it because we wanted to see what would happen. And I still think those two scenarios both could have played out, and we got one of the two. We got an ambiguous result. There's enough there where if your adventure is, you think it's a conspiracy, you think something's off here, you could make a case. And if you think it's, this box is completely fine, you can make a case. I kind of leave it open-ended for you. I'm curious if you did watch it. What did you think? If you watched the Sportscar Radio version, you probably got the better version. One last point I'll make, and this is just kind of a separate thing. I don't understand, and this is just me. I don't understand how Ken Goldin, with the company having been bought out by collectors and the resources of collectors, I do not for the life of me understand why they struggle so mightily to do a live stream. Just a simple live stream to open a box. Everything seems to be a struggle with these guys. They created their own little problem with that little glitch. Like I said, this alternate angle, I think, addresses that. But, again, if you got the tinfoil hat on, maybe this is not good enough for you. Fair enough. I'm not going to argue with you. I'll include a link to it for you in the description if you want to check it out on your own. And I'll include a link to the original stream here from Sportscar Radio. Check it out on your own if you want to check it out, if you're interested. It does make it a little more palatable. It was a little more fun to watch this version than what would have been on the WhatNot platform itself. I've checked out WhatNot on the desktop. It's not great. But like I said, it's really a matter of kind of choose your own adventure. If you really want to make a pitch either way, I think you could definitely make a case. I'm in the camp that this is just a really dull 86 Fleer box. It feels like it was legit from the perspective of what I saw. The cards that came out seem to be in the right order sequencing. I haven't memorized the sequencing, but they seem to be appropriate for what would come out of this box. So for me, it's kind of like, just a boring box, but a boring box that was ambiguous enough that it left room if somebody really wants to be conspiratorially minded. You can still make the argument if you want to. So anyway, that's it for me on this one. More videos coming up on the channel. Live stream 8 p.m. Eastern time on Friday. And I don't know if there'll be any steam left in this one by that point to talk about it. But if there is, we'll talk about it. Otherwise, we'll leave it be. So that's just my thoughts coming off the live stream. Again, kudos to the Sportscar Radio guys for putting together a great live stream and making it a little bit more fun, a little bit more entertaining from that perspective. And when the videos are very well researched and there's great information, there's still some good stuff on there. It's just going to be like, can you get past the presentation? It's not always going to be for everybody. But they did acknowledge, like on the live stream, to their credit, they did acknowledge that their presentation sometimes isn't for everybody. So maybe it's a case of like, your mileage may vary. But again, kudos to them for this one. This was a very successful video and live stream by any metric that you want, especially in this space. Otherwise, more coming up on the channel. We'll catch you in the next one. Thanks very much.